Today, I'll be talking about non-coercive paraphilias, where I'll be showing you how far people can go in order to achieve sexual stimulation. I'll also shed light on the possible causes of these sexual variations and how they can be effectively treated. If you were to look at this assortment of random objects, body parts, and ideas, and were told that all of these could be used to sexually arouse someone, would you believe them? The reality is that all these concepts can be used to sexually stimulate someone as a form of paraphilia. We can find people who are erotically interested in various subjects that either don't require consent because they are an inanimate object or a part of a body, or give full consent to the sexual variation that's about to take place. Now that you understand the general idea of a non-coercive paraphilia, let's first take a look at one of the more broader categories, known as fetishism. Now, what is a fetish, or having a partialism for something? We have an idea of what it might possibly be as we learn that it falls under the umbrella of a non-coercive paraphilia. But what makes it stand out as a category? A fetish can be defined under the Webster's Dictionary definition as an object or bodily part whose real or fantasized presence is psychologically necessary for sexual gratification, and that is an object of fixation to the extent that it may interfere with complete sexual expression. This basically means that an object or body part is absolutely crucial for sexual stimulation, which can be a major issue if you're trying to get into a normal intimate relationship. The reason I include partialism along with fetishism is because, in a sense, partialism makes up half of the array of fetishes, where it is the bodily portion of the definition. This means that if you have a partialism for something, then you have a fetish for it. Now let's move on to another form of non-coercive paraphilia, known as transvestism. Transvestism is the erotic interest in dressing and clothing of the opposite sex. This can range from fully dressed and showing yourself off in public to secretly wearing a single article of clothing that matches the opposite sex. Not all people who cross-dress have a fetish. Some do it to express gender identity, which makes this paraphilia all the more interesting. With that said, another interesting set of paraphilias are known as sadism and masochism. These can work together in the sense that sadists are aroused to giving pain, while masochists are aroused to receiving pain. Though not all sadists and masochists want to actually act on their sexual desires, the ones that do go all out. Using the idea of BDSM, which involves using boundaries and safe words, the pair can perform their sexual desires with full consent and reassurance of safety. People who enact in BDSM are not abusing or getting abused in any way. They voluntarily participate and enjoy the activity as long as they respect each other's boundaries. Now, with all of these paraphilias, one may ask how someone can develop such an attraction. Some have pointed out that of the people diagnosed with having a fetish, a large majority is composed of males, usually in their adolescence, which implies that developing a fetish could be caused by something biological. But that is not always the case, as females have also been diagnosed with fetishism. There have been some connections made to the fact that a good portion of those diagnosed with a paraphilia sometimes have other mental disorders such as autism and OCD, though this does not account for all cases of paraphilia. Another theory for acquiring a fetish would be that young adolescents and even young children might accidentally condition themselves into incorrectly thinking that a body part or object is considered sexually attractive. Some studies have shown that past trauma can result in the development of masochism and even sadism, but this is not always the case, as people who have not had such experience could still exhibit these sexual desires. All of these theories seem plausible, but everyone's mind and way of thinking differ from person to person, so no one theory is considered 100% correct. Now, treating fetish disorders should only be required if they impair the subject's sexual functionality or cause distress. It is completely possible to cure someone of their fetishes, but not all treatments work on everyone. One treatment involves conditioning the affected person into trying to sexually stimulate themselves without the fantasy or possession of the fetish object or body part, and to rather encourage them to instead be aroused to heterosexual images of stimulation. This is known as orgasmic conditioning. Since orgasmic conditioning doesn't always work, medication that lowers a patient's sex drive might work as a better alternative. Such medication includes antiandrogens and selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which both may decrease the patient's amount of sexual fantasies and behaviors to fetishism and other paraphilias, but it doesn't completely solve the issue of still having bottled up sexual urges that may eventually spring up again. These origins and treatments can apply to almost all forms of non-coercive paraphilia, as long as the patient is cooperative and completely on board with wanting to change their sexual habits on their own. Non-coercive paraphilias are a fascinating set of sexual variations that all of us can learn from. With all the sexual variation in society, we may never know the limits of sexual attraction. I'm Michael Zatlin, and thanks for watching.